No joke, I just had the best interview of my life of all time. Thanks for coming back to my channel or joining the channel. If you are new, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and comment down below after the video to let me know your thoughts. So today's video, I'm going to share with you a little bit about the best experience of an interview I just had, and also share with you my top tips and what I think really helped me within that interview. So I'm going to be sharing the top tips that I think helped within that specific interview, but I'm also going to be sharing with you what I did to prepare for the interview. So I'll be sharing with you the tips first and then how I specifically prepared for this interview. So stick around till the end if you want to hear both parts. So of course I have my planner out and I have everything written down because that's kind of just who I am. So I want to share my tips with you today. So these are some things that I actually applied during the interview that I just did, but also some tips that I would say you should do as well. Also, this is the exact top that I wore and the way I wore my hair and my makeup and everything and the jewelry for my interview today. So maybe take that into consideration to dress nice for your interview. I wore all black, which usually I would pair a color, but today was kind of a different day because it was raining outside and I wanted to wear my nice Ann Taylor dress pants, which I've shown in my teacher outfits video. So if you haven't seen those, go ahead and check them out so you can kind of see what they look like. And I paired it with this really nice Ann Taylor top, which is soft in the middle and has these beautiful sheer sleeves that I really like, and just a little accessory. So I try not to go too heavy on accessories, just a little something. And I was gonna wear my mom's Ross Hammerson heels, gorgeous heels, but I couldn't today because it was raining outside and I didn't want to slip and fall. So I just paired it with a pair of ballet flats. Normally I dress up even more business casual, especially for an interview, especially since those heels I feel like give me so much confidence. But today I just wanted to play it a little safe because of the rain outside. So anyway, that was just a little tidbit on what I was wearing today for my interview, but let's go ahead and jump into those tips. So the first one is to start with a smile and be courteous and polite. So that sounds really simple and like something you've probably heard before, but honestly, I think it made a huge difference. So I got to my interview a little early, as you should. You should probably try to show up 10 to 15 minutes early, I'd say. So I got there early, I walked in, and I went exactly where the gal told me to go during the interview. So she told me through email to go to the information desk and check in when I got there. And so I went there and I was really polite and nice. And the gal who was there is actually at the information desk is actually someone we would be working with. So I'm really happy that I made a good first impression there. I just filled out any information I needed to fill out at the desk, but sat down and waited for the interviewer to come back and take me back to her office to do the actual interview. I was just really friendly and polite and courteous to everyone I saw along that way. So that was something I did and something I would suggest that you do right away. The other thing is shake hands firmly. So this is something I've always been told. I'm not sure how great of a job I do on it, but I really do try my best to have a firm handshake. So that shows professionality, I've heard. I'm sure it could be tougher, but I also know that if I do too tough, like I'm pretty strong, so I don't want to shake hands too firmly. But try to find somewhere middle ground. You don't just want to be like a limp handshake. You want to mean business, right? You want to have a good, strong, firm handshake. The next one is kind of a funny one. I put take the water. So I was actually reading some interview tips before I went on my interview today, just to try to build my confidence and just do my best. And so one of the things that I was reading when I was trying to figure out how early I should show up, because I'm a pretty early person and I do like to show up early, is something about water. So if they offer you water during the interview, like when you first get in the office or wherever interview setting you're going to, if they say, would you like any water? Say yes. I don't know if this actually works or if this really did, but normally I'm the type of person who would say no just because I don't want to inconvenience anyone. But I said yes this time, so the gal got me water, and honestly I was really happy about it too, because during the interview, even though I didn't really drink it except for a sip when she gave me like a break because she went to go get another gal to bring in and like kind of evaluate and everything, I actually took a sip then, but it was really nice too because since the water was so cold, I put my hands around it as well, because if you're nervous, you might, get kind of sweaty during your interview, so that's really good too. So definitely take the water. It'll give you something to do with your hands, but it also shows your politeness, right? The next one, have a sense of confidence with your interview, not cockiness. So don't go in there thinking you already have the job. That's not what I mean. What I mean is just go in there and know your skills and own your skills. So be really open, honest, and upfront and confident in your abilities. And this is something I really struggle with normally, but for this job specifically, it actually worked out really well. I was really confident in my interview, and I think that came across because this gal who interviewed me, she was so nice right off the bat, and she was just really polite, just like me, but also she appreciated the work that I did, and she appreciated my previous experience going into this job experience, and she actually took that into consideration when she was asking me questions. And she actually told me something really crazy towards the end of the interview, and she said that she adored me or something. She was like, "You're awesome, already." And then she also said that once she pulled my resume offline, that she stopped pulling and calling anyone else's. Mine was the last one she pulled, and once she found mine, she didn't look towards anyone else's. So I thought that was really sweet. I don't know if that's true, but it definitely gave me a sense of confidence when she told me that. So I thought that was really nice. Show attentiveness to the speaker. So normally in an interview, it could go where it's a back and forth, and they're asking you questions, and then you're answering, and then doing that again. But honestly, a lot of this interview was her explaining what the company was, because it's kind of like a hidden gem. A lot of people don't really know it exists, and so she was explaining what they do there, what I would be expected to do, of course, and just the overall company idea and mindset, goals, just everything. Being a team player, because it was an administrative assistant position, so they wear many hats, and I've always known that since my mom was an administrative assistant for so many years, but it's always been a dream of mine to be one as well. So just secretly, if I could take a job, that's the job I would want to get, just because I really want to try it. I'm the type of person who's probably going to have so many different jobs in their life because I love to try new things. But show attentiveness to your speaker. So make sure that you're giving eye contact to them when they are talking. So you want to make sure that you are fully focused in what they are saying. So it's super important. They will notice, and I think that really helped me, to be honest. I think they noticed that, or she noticed, I should say, that I was paying attention to her when she was talking. She said that I had great interpersonal communication skills, which I thought was amazing. So it was really nice to hear those compliments during the interview. I don't know why she thought so highly of me right off the bat, but I thought that was really great. So definitely make sure to give eye contact, use your manners and common sense and judgment during that interview process. Also, something I did was when she was speaking, because like I said, a lot of it was her just speaking and then me answering a few questions here and there, is I said phrases at the end of her speaking, such as "gotcha," or "I understand," or "that makes sense." Just things that I would normally say that just let her know that I was listening and I understood what she was saying. Because sometimes when you're listening to someone and they're talking and they're just talking a lot and the whole time and you don't say anything, obviously don't interrupt. There's a fine line, right? But you also want to have them to have a clear understanding that you know that you were listening to them. I don't remember if I already mentioned this, but find something you can compliment them on, but be genuine about it. So right off the bat, she walked towards me and brought me back to the interview room, and she was wearing this really pretty magenta colored top, and it reminded me of a top that I actually have at home. And so this is an administrative assistant position for a mall. And so I told her, I said, "I love your top, that's really cute," or something. I don't remember exactly what I said, but it's something like that. I told her, I gave her a compliment, "I love your top," before the interview even started. And I didn't say that intentionally to give a compliment. That wasn't advice that I had heard anywhere. It was just something that I was thinking, and I was she seemed really nice and bubbly right away, so I was I felt okay and comfortable to say something like that. And then later on in the interview, after she told me that she doesn't want to hire anyone else and for me to go home and basically think about it and to let her know if I wanted it or not, she said, or I told her, I said, you got that from J. Crew, right? And she's like, yeah. She was really surprised that I knew that or something. But I knew that because the color that she was wearing is, I've only ever seen that specific like magenta-y color at J. Crew. So I feel like it's a J. Crew staple kind of color. Anyway, next tip, answer questions thoughtfully. Come prepared with answers and responses. So it's really important when they ask you a question, don't just shoot out your answer right away. If you need to take a second to process it, take that extra second. Make sure you planned and prepared beforehand your answer to some of the questions that you think they could ask you. It's really important as well. Also, you could keep in mind the things that you saw on, let's say you applied on Indeed, on the application. Wherever you found the information of the job description, keep those things in mind with your answer and make sure to use those key buzzwords when you're answering the questions. So if they said that the person needs to be responsible, or if they need to maintain the office, or if they need to be organized or a great planner, use those kind of words within your responses to let them know that those are great strengths of yours. Because in interviews, they might come out and say, what are your strengths? As like a general question. But I wasn't asked that in this interview, that direct. It was more like, what intrigues you to administrative assistant, like that position, or why do you think you'd be good at this kind of thing. It wasn't so much direct, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, which is fine. I could answer the question both ways, but knowing how to answer it in those different ways can be really helpful, I think, in order to be successful just answering the question in general. Hopefully that makes sense. I think that was my last tip for you. So now I'm gonna go on to the actual things I did to prepare for the interview. So I got an email one day before my scheduled interview. I emailed her back with a couple of my available times, and then I ultimately let her pick the exact time. So I emailed her back letting her know I was available on Tuesday and Thursday. And she said either of those work, and then we discussed the time, and I said I'm available between this time and this time. You select what's best for you, and so she selected the time. So that is what I did initially. After I found out that I got an interview, I went back over the job description again, and I pretty much immediately started looking at videos either online on how to prepare, or just general videos for how to prepare specifically for the type of interview that I wanted. So I knew I was applying for administrative assistant, so I looked for interview questions and answers from that specifically. So a great video that I found that you might have already seen if you're watching this, but could really help you, is by Career Vids. It's another YouTube channel, and that's actually where I got the administrative assistant interview questions and answers from that I wrote down, and now I'm going to share with you those exact questions, but I'm also going to share with you my answers. So in the video, they share with you their answers, and they're phenomenal, and I definitely took what they said into consideration when I answered my own as well. And some of these questions, honestly, I don't think I was asked most of these verbatim, but they were still great to help me prepare. And honestly, I think that just preparing and going over these, so I wrote down my responses, but also going over them multiple times the day before the interview gave me confidence and understanding, and really made me take a look back in my brain and think, okay, what have I done for the past 8 years in the workforce? Like, what have I done for the past almost decade in the workforce that I could contribute to this role? What is my knowledge experience? What does my degree bring me? What does all of the expertise that I already have bring me to this position? So one of the questions from that video was, why do you want this job, and what can you bring to the role? And so I took a lot of what they said and I kind of tweaked and revised it to fit my response. And again, these weren't necessarily questions asked during the interview, but this is what I did to prepare. So why do you want this job, and what can you bring to the role? I have studied the job description, and I feel strongly that I have the skills, qualifications, and drive to learn to be able to perform this job well. For example, the role requires responsibility for various tasks such as opening and closing procedures answering calls, maintaining company order through supplies, and mail. So those are all things that I said I know I could perform or I've already performed in the past. And I did mention that in my interview, I know that. So I did mention the things that I have done before and the things I know I'm comfortable doing. So I specifically took the closing procedures, answering calls, and maintaining company order through supplies. Those specific words I took from the Indeed job posting, because those were what they were saying I'm going to be required to do. And I know personally that I can do those. So I put that in my response here. But I also thought about that, and during the interview I was able to say, yeah, I can do that for sure. This part here was directly from the video. I have studied the job description and I feel strongly that I have the skills, qualifications, and drive to learn. That part was great. It was from the video itself, and I thought it was said really professionally. Another one that was from the video. So I'm not going to go over all of these just because I don't want this video to run too long. I'm just going to go over a couple more. Describe a time when you had to deal with a difficult customer or client. So if you don't have any experience with this, describe how you would have dealt with it. So that's always a great thing. And you can change some of your verbs to figure that out. So a time that I had to, or if you didn't do that before, you could always say, if I had to deal with a difficult customer, I would. And then what I would do is I would explain the situation. So they mentioned this STAR technique: situation, describe it; task, explain the task needed to be done; action, tell what action you took; and result, explain the result or outcome. So let me give you my example. A time I had to deal with a difficult customer was when this customer was unhappy with their order that they had received. So the customer emailed the company and we took a look at the situation. And then what we did is we realized that we did not do the best job that we could have on the order. So we took full responsibility for the mistake, and we let them know that within 2 to 3 days they will be receiving a remake order and that we're going to fully reimburse them. And also that we sincerely apologized for this mistake because our company does take quality and ownership and pride in what we do. And so we reassured them that this would never happen again. So something like that is an example of what you could say for describe a time when you had to deal with a difficult customer or client. So basically what they're asking is they want to know, how do you handle when things don't go right? So you would explain that. And this next one, so this is the last one I'm going to do for this video today. If you want to see maybe a part 2, I could always do that. Leave that in the comments down below. What is the most difficult part of being and then you'd fill in the description with your job. So for me, what is the most difficult part of being an administrative assistant? So this question kind of stumped me when I saw it on the video the other day, because I was like, well, how would I know? I'm not an administrative assistant. So this requires you to do some out-of-the-box thinking. So what is the most difficult part of being an administrative assistant? Look back at the ad or the application, the job description. Look back and see what you think would be the most difficult part of that. And then you can select that for your answer. Or you can select something that's out of your control, but that you know you can help manage. So let me show you my example. What is the most difficult part of being an administrative assistant? And I believe I got this from the video too, but it does apply to my situation since the video I watched was directly about administrative assistants. So I find one of the most difficult parts of this role is having to rely on external partners or external factors to complete a specific task. And it's kind of funny because this was mentioned in my interview. It wasn't a question towards me, but the gal interviewing me was letting me know that that's really a challenge in her job. However, I firmly believe that if everyone is goal-oriented and focused on the same goal or task at hand, that this can help everyone complete their part of the task in a timely manner. So letting people know that I understand this is a challenge, but here's how we can overcome it is basically what they're asking. So what is the most difficult part of being a whatever? Well, the most difficult part is this, but here's how we're going to overcome it. Here's what we're going to do to strive to be better, right? That's what everyone wants to know and hear, that you have a growth mindset, that you're goal-oriented, that you're not just going to get stuck and set in your ways, but you're going to try your best and go out of your way to make it happen or make a good experience for everyone. and do your very best ultimately. So I really hope either some of these tips or practice interview questions helped you today. If they did, you can leave that in the comments below or give this video a thumbs up. Also, tell me if you're watching this because you're interviewing for an administrative assistant position or another type of job. So once again, make sure to like the video, leave me a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you, and subscribe to the channel if you are new.